Back again so soon, eh? Well, for those of you wondering if you've been in a coma, don't worry. Here at Dungeon Keeper Radio, we've decided to change up our programming. And since Dungeon Hacks is our most popular show, something that pleases me immensely, I might add, we've decided to make it the main show on the channel. For the time being, at least. For those fans of Risky Business, Dice Bag, and Exploring Evora, don't worry, we'll still be updating them as well. And if their numbers spike, then you can rest assured we'll put more episodes of them together as well. Now, without further ado, let's talk about what to do when your players decide they want to be bad guys. This sounds obvious, but it needs to be said. If you're going to run an evil campaign, then make sure your players bring evil characters. Not conflicted characters. Not just bad characters. Evil characters. Capital E, evil. For those of you in the back clearing your throats for a rebuttal, yes, some members of the party can be neutral or just amoral. But for a game to really shine, you need a solid group who isn't wishy-washy with their intent. Neutrality is something you can do in any game. Take a stand and put your boot on someone's neck. Trust me, it's a liberating sensation. Any self-respecting dungeon master knows that if you leave a party of adventurers alone to their own devices, then you'll come back 10 minutes later to a pile of corpses where everything's on fire. And that's for heroic parties. If you've got a cadre of villains on your hands, then you need to make sure you give them something to do. More importantly, though, you need to make sure the task you assign them correlates to their personal goals. As an example, pulling a bank job with a big payday will appeal to the greedy rogue. But what about the sorcerer with a grudge to settle with the local lord? Well, make it clear that this heist could make the lord lose his position, if not his head. And the assassin who views this as beneath her talents? Give her a target, and use the heist as cover so that people don't realize it was all just a hit job. There are all sorts of ways to tie this little package together. For my 2 cents, the easiest way is to have all your players fill out a character generation document, so you have all their motivations right at your fingertips. Also, as a bonus, try to connect the player characters to in-game organizations. Mercenary companies, assassins guilds, thieves unions, inquisitions, cults, and other groups all make for ideal ways to nudge your party's wickedness in the proper direction. It's said that you can judge someone by the quality of their enemies. That is definitely the case when it comes to running evil parties. If you want to emphasize how bad your bad guys are, then make sure you have them opposing undeniably good forces. Now, I'm not just talking about paladins and clerics here either, though that's a good place to start. But sit back and think about the sorts of noble causes heroes are usually called upon to help with. A plucky young resistance trying to throw off the yoke of oppression, a rebellion who's going out and freeing slaves from the chains of bondage, someone defending a helpless village against the depredations of bandit lords and black-hearted mercenaries. Those are the opposition your party should be handling. This helps you in several ways. First, champions of good are more likely to take prisoners and make arrests in the event your villains bite off more than they can chew. Secondly, when your villains kill off named heroes, which they probably will, let's be honest, it will do wonders for their small legend, which is my fancy way of talking about their reputation among the wicked of your world. A common misconception among folks is that evil individuals cannot recognize their own self-interest or regulate their own behavior. The common belief is that the capital E in one's alignment box means that a character will lie, cheat, steal, kill, and commit acts against man and nature whenever the urge happens to strike them. I can tell you from experience that characters who are this cartoonishly evil never last, because they're shallow, poorly conceived, and have very little in the ways of true driving motivations. This is why it's important to make sure that all evil sheets that come to your table understand that this is still a team sport. What you should be thinking of are villainous organizations that can pose a legitimate threat as a unified front. Something like the Legion of Doom, for example, or perhaps the upper echelons of a dark church or an army of evil. You're all antagonists here, but you shouldn't be antagonizing each other. That's the hero's job. I cannot stress strongly enough that villainous parties need to carefully interview anyone they consider bringing into the fold. For instance, you might be a dedicated gang of cutthroats. Maybe you take hostages if they're important and you think you can get a ransom for the persons in question. You might need a little extra muscle, but you probably don't want to recruit the guy you can't trust not to despoil your hostages when your backs are turned. Or their corpses, for that matter. This should be done both in-game as well as part of your character approval process as a dungeon master. Ask your players what things they are comfortable with, what they're uncomfortable with, and what they expressly do not want to see in your game. This will save you a lot of headache and stop your game from imploding because Jeff wanted to do a bunch of stuff no one else was okay with. Running an evil campaign isn't easy, but it can be a particularly rewarding experience if you manage to pull it off. Just keep these tips in mind and you should do just fine. That's all for this installment of Dungeon Hacks. If you liked it, then please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you want to catch all of our updates, or if you'd like to support our channel, you can find our Facebook, Patreon, and Ko-fi links in the description below. Also, if you have a topic you'd like us to cover on a future episode, leave it in the comments. Until next time.